This is the Business Chat Podcast. And welcome to another episode of the Business Chat. I'm your host, Drew Moore. Today's guest is a lot of things. He's a friend. He's a rocker. He's a fellow long hair, as you can see, those of you watching the video. A daddy, and kind of a crazy person, everybody, that took a risk and has a story. And really, it's kind of still unfolding after the polar vortex that just passed through Texas. Ryan Brown is my guest. Ryan, how you doing today?
Man, it's 73 degrees today. It was like 7 degrees this time last week. You know what they say about Texas weather. If you like it, enjoy it while it lasts. If you don't, change is on the horizon.
Yeah, so just wait another minute. Yeah,
that's right. I had a boss who used to tell me that same analogy about my job. If I liked it, enjoy it while it lasts. Well, if I didn't, change was coming, which I don't know if that was supposed to make me feel good about what I was doing, but
right. I'll take it, man. I think that's my favorite slogan for the week, probably. So, Ryan Brown, you're in Austin, Texas. Ryan is our wireless sales, corporate sales leader in that industry, turned gourmet donut and coffee, a master purveyor. It's Bougie's Donuts and Coffee in Austin, Texas. And while you're watching, those of you watching can go to bougiesdonuts.com. Check him out in the local Austin area. Look him up. We'll plug that a little later in the show. But yeah, Ryan, welcome to the Business Chat. So you're here and you're not frozen, man. Welcome. It's just good to have you in one piece.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Well, so it's Business Chat, but our shtick here is we like to plug a local brewery, roastery, craft purveyor of sorts. So what are you drinking today, my friend?
I got a couple today. I got uppers and downers. We got
I'll take it
for the uppers. Little shameless plug there. Bougie's Donuts. I don't think you can see this in the webcam, but I've got Weathered Hands coffee. They're out of Dripping Springs. It's actually one of my baristas that launched his own roastery.
Okay.
And phenomenal coffee, phenomenal roaster. Anyway, Mike, if you're out there, he's doing a great job. And we've been carrying him exclusively over the 2020 season.
Nice.
And then on tap here in this beautiful business brew glass. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, Business Chat. That's right.
I still voting for the Business Drew.
Okay. I'll talk with Ben. about it. Great. The Business Drew. We'll see.
Anyway, but we've got Fitzhugh Brewing. My buddy Nathan over there is doing some amazing things. They just opened up here a couple months ago out in Dripping Springs as well. Trying to keep it local and support local as much as we can right now, especially in these crazy times. But he's doing amazing things with beer, and he's doing a lot of old world style beers, kind of meddled with some new world style techniques. So it's really cool.
Neat. And Ryan, for folks that don't know Central Texas, the Austin area, and it is an area, right? There's downtown, and then there's just the sprawling and ever changing and growing Austin.
Yeah.
Dripping Springs, if folks were downtown, what are we talking about? Is this 10, 15 minutes, a half hour outside of the city? I know, but for listeners, describe what Dripping Springs is.
It's about a 20, 30-minute little jaunt southwest of downtown. And it is in heading up towards the hill country, so the topography starts to change a little bit. It's just a beautiful area. It used to be a bunch of ranches, and now it's a bunch of sprawling neighborhoods. So,
right.
But we preserved quite a bit of it. There's a street called Fitzhugh, and you can find a lot of breweries and wineries and good eateries just out in that direction.
Great. Yeah, so if you're out that way, everybody, check out Dripping Springs. And again, Fitzhugh Brewing, Weathered Hands Coffee, great. So good. So here, and I mentioned to my last two guests, and we're still working through this, we talked through, do I continually have the guests bring the beer? Do I partake? And so it's a challenge, right, to have to drink a beer on each episode. But I decided I'm up for it. And so out here, we have so much craft beer in Southern California that we just quickly realized there's no shortage. So today is Thrill Seeker IPA from Beechwood in Huntington Beach, California. And it's a nice, crisp, full-bodied IPA. You can check out Beechwood online and in stores for those of you out this way. So that covers our drinking slot and spot. And I'll just stop for a moment. And again, for those of you listening, you won't see, but Ryan and I go back. So I've actually got some of the vintage first edition, right? Bougie's 2016 mug and patch that Ryan's sporting today. So double cheers on that. Well, great. Again, man, it's good to have you. The series, we're I'm fascinated, and plenty of people are, with these stories, and yours is as real as any. Um, I got to just start this out and give me a minute here to just lay the groundwork. So, folks, I know Ryan, and we met in Austin, and both of us were pivoting in our careers, and it was on one of, I think, a couple drives as I was sadly leaving the beautiful state of Texas and coming out west to the to the under new management California. We'll just leave that the whole topic alone. And it was one of those spells on those long road trips, where you and I had kind of done all the talking we needed to do. It's where now you're west of West Texas, and it truly looks like the moon. I think we'd worked our way through a couple of Radiohead records and honestly just trying to stay awake. And out of the blue, Ryan just takes a deep breath and kind of goes, I'm going to get into donuts. And so I just sort of turned the radio down and go, just like that. And you just kind of had more to unpack from there. So that was for me, the moment I remember going, okay, I think he just, he's a little dehydrated or something. But I don't know if you stayed up late one night and watched some like HGTV special on donut making, but share with me again, because it's been some time. Back up and really what happened? Were you selling, cellular packages B2B one day and you just threw your laptop into the street and stomped on it and, you were driven to the edge, or was this a slow burn? So.
Yeah, the HGTV is not very far off actually.
Okay.
So I worked in telecom for about 11 years in various roles, always on the B2B side.
Okay.
While I did that, I guess if I go back a little bit further, I'm a music degree, played music for a short period of time, thought that's what my path was.
That's how we met.
And
that's right.
And then that kind of fizzled, and so felt like I needed to replenish the coffers, because if you ever met a rich musician, there's not very many of them. There's a lot of us guys that have thousands of dollars worth of gear in a little beater of a car.
Right.
We're trying to carry it around it.
Right.
Yeah. So I got into telecom really just to replenish my bank account.
Sport your habit. Hey,
that's right.
Come on.
It was supposed to be like an 8 or 9 month gig, go back into music, go back into playing guitar. And, I sneezed and it was 11 years later. Right. And, never really felt fulfilled doing that. But, you get sucked into that kind of corporate arena.
Sure.
The benefits, the consistent paycheck, all the lures of corporate America. And fast forward to year 11. At this point, we've moved from Houston to Austin, and new family. My daughter at the time, she'll be 6 next month. She was 6 months old at that time.
Oh, incredible! Yeah.
New house. My wife had just gone back to work, and I get the notification that, hey, we're doing away with your department, and so
there it is.
We are also doing away with you, and. For some, that would have been a huge blow. For me, I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and I've always pursued side hustles while I was at that company, and nothing I gave my all, but I was constantly trying to think of ideas of things that I might do outside of telecom.
Sure.
And as I guess luck would have it, I get home shortly after. I don't think I'd received my official pink slip yet, but I knew that it was coming. And I get home. We had a nanny that was helping us out, and she watched a lot of Food Network. And as I'm dismissing her and grabbing my daughter, I catch the very last segment of this show called Unwrapped. And okay. They're talking about donut robots, and I'm going, what's a donut robot? That just sounds interesting. I don't know. And so later that evening, when I had finally gotten Lily to bed, Lily's my daughter, by the way,
little Lily,
jumped on my laptop and started Googling donut robots. And I think it was about 3 to 6 hours where I just went down the rabbit hole,
right,
and started learning more about the donut business. And as I studied it, and as I just kind of looked over it and considered, initially there wasn't a thought of I want to start a donut shop. It was just, what is a donut robot? But as I began to study it, I was like, man, there may be a viable business here. And
right,
I would much rather sell donuts than sell cell phones. When I would walk into an office, because most of the business that I did was, C-level executives.
Sure.
There was a lot of cold calling involved, and you walk into reception and you drop a card and let them know who you were. And there was, I don't remember the exact cartoon, but it was kind of like the sales guy would walk up, the shutter would drop on the front desk, and they flip the sign that says "out to lunch."
That's right.
They don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And kind of the thought process was, what if I had a business where people not only wanted to talk to me, but they like came to me. I didn't have to go to them. And this idea of donut shop kind of started. And then I was like, what if it was a place that was really like invested in the community, and a place where, unlike my previous employer, my employees weren't just numbers or just these, cogs in a wheel, but that they were actual human beings that we try to invest into and try to love on and really try to help them get from wherever they were to wherever they wanted to go. And, whether that was like, I want to work in a donut shop for the rest of my life, or it was like, no, this is just a stepping stone, like whatever that was. So
no, and while you replenish yourself here for a moment on your frosty beverage, so to set this up a little more too, as a guy that knows Ryan, I can color the story a little more too when the statement, "I think I'm getting into donuts," comes out. Those of you, again, that can't see Ryan or know him, it's just funny, we humans come in all shapes and sizes, and Ryan comes in the chiseled like Brad Pitt from Fight Club, shape. So in general, the guy you think of getting into donuts, right, is a guy that you go, well, you've already been into donuts. So here's this CrossFit guy that, shreds on guitar and he's smart and sells, and I'm looking at him going, you just don't, I think you can do it, but I'm going, okay, you're going to be the donut guy. So I got to first, virtual cheers. I'm skipping a little format here as we're kind of getting this show going. There it is.
did it disappear?
Yeah, it is right. I know. Yeah, the disappearing glass. Yeah, these darn Zoom and Skype calls, right? Can you just answer one thing for me that I'm sure a couple folks are going to be thinking or wanting to ask? Does the donut owner eat his own donuts?
Oh, the only donuts I eat. What are you talking about?
There's the right answer. Yeah, and so in general, back to your story, and I'm teasing Ryan. I know we've talked about that a lot, about how you care about the quality and the the ingredients and all that. So Bougie's Donuts and Coffee was born, right? And when we were driving that day and talking, there was a story behind that you just caught me up to. Going forward, forgetting about me, although we were talking, I remember you going, I'm going to get this thing going. And as we're cutting to some images right now of the different things Ryan was doing and showing the early shop setup, skip now forward a little bit for us, right? A little 10,000 foot view. What all took place after that? So you get the pink slip. This did go down. This vision of a coffee house, of community is going. Talk about the steps to get there, right? Like, I really want to hear this idea of, coming into flesh and bones.
I mean, ideas are easy. Lots of people have them. We get a lot of those, like, I think especially for creatives, it's kind of like, man, this would be awesome if, or like,
Totally.
This would be super cool. But then the steps to execution kind of fall flat or fall short. And so I had this idea, the donut shop initially. So a couple cool little fun facts in that, like, 3 to 6 hour long discovery session I did on Google. I found that donuts are second most profitable food item in the food chain, right behind potatoes, because I know everybody knows.
Okay.
Going to want to know what the first one was. So French fries, chips, and whatever. But yeah, so donuts fall number 2 in that. And then coffee is the second most highly traded commodity in the world, just behind crude oil. So
wow,
they're big businesses. People don't think about them, low dollar items. So I saw some of those things at the beginning, and that really piqued my attention beyond just hey, this would be a great way to just, basically have my friends come over. And
you're not just a dreamer. You've got you're looking at monetizing this, and you're thinking of it like it's part of your sales bone, and you can kind of think of the, yeah, sure.
So, between the time that I got laid off and I've had the idea, I'm starting to like really mull on it. Funny thing too, so I brought the idea to my wife. For those of you who are entrepreneurs who are married, a little piece of advice: don't go jump on something until you've gotten at least a blessing from your better half. That has proven over and over again to be detrimental to relationships, I think.
Yeah.
So But yeah, so we're sitting there.
On that note, Ryan, can you add, did you have the enthusiastic support of your wife, who I won't name until you're comfortable with that? Or was that something she had to buy into, right? Like bring that into it a little too, right? When you looked at me and said, I think I'm getting into donuts, did she know at that point? Or did you kind of have to bring it up?
Yes. So we had already talked about it. I think it was like the next day after I had that, discovery session. We're sitting on the couch. I think we're watching Netflix, and I kind of look over at her. I'm like, so, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Like, what do you think about opening up a donut and coffee shop? And she said, yeah, sounds great. Let's go back to watching our movie. And so I was like, green light. It's all go. Like, she said yes. I got the blessing.
Took that right out of the late night playbook, right? Just like, hey, like she's not really hearing me. Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, we did have some serious sit down conversations later, obviously. And she's, her name is Alicia, by the way. But she's really, for me, I'm the guy that's always like, looking on the horizon for the next thing constantly. And she's my voice of reason a lot of times.
Right.
And so even on this journey, she was really like vital, or played a vital role of like setting up kind of short-term goals and helping me like, figure out like, hey, if we don't see progress on this by X date, then maybe it's time to pivot and, go back to looking for another cellular job. So, or whatever that was. So but she was also like, gave me the freedom within that time frame just to continue to work, and wasn't like hounding me every day.
Yeah.
So anyway, to back up, so had the idea, and I start to study the market. I'm studying like Austin in general. Austin, I'm from Houston originally. Houston, it seems like there's donut shops on every street corner, and you can stand at a donut shop and throw a rock and you can hit another donut shop.
The next one, yeah.
Just like they're all over the place. And in Austin, they're a lot more spread out, and a lot of very traditional donut shops. And Austin is known as a foodie town. It's also has a small business centric like culture there, where the community really supports small businesses. And so I'm going, why is there a gap in the market here? Why do the donut shops, the gourmet donut shops, why do they not exist? Is it because Austin is just so healthy that nobody eats donuts here? And realized again that wasn't kind of the issue. So
no, because you can get brisket covered in gravy with cheese on top, the side of sauce and the side of melted butter. So, donuts are on the menu. I got to ask one more question in there, Ryan. So when you just kind of hinted at something in terms of the absence, right, of that vision you have, would you say though, and this is me asking because I don't recall, Austin did seem to have one or two of at least familiar chains or state or regional chain donut stores, right? Classic go and get your donut and leave, but not what you had, or you're saying to your...
Not really.
Okay.
Like they had Shipley's, which Shipley's is out of Houston. Always felt like this, I'm sorry, people that were...
No. Let's a little salute to Shipley's. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. They're phenomenal.
Always like the Austin stores fell a little short, and they weren't very concentrated.
Sure.
Funny enough, I think it was a month before we opened up, Voodoo Donuts from Seattle came to town. And so like they were kind of the official like gourmet donut hitting the map. And then we have Bordeaux's, which is regional there. They've had a couple different locations.
Right.
But their donuts are so over the top. I mean, they're great, but they're like dessert. They're less of like the breakfast fare or the light, like just snack.
And that brick and mortar experience, for those of you hearing these names thrown around, Brian's throwing them all out. I'm with you. So Voodoo, I've been to in Portland. Yeah, I know what that is, right? And big name, but also it's kitschy. It's got its own craft thing, and it's not Starbucks, for crying out loud. And then it's Gordo's, you said? Yeah, that's got their brick and mortar anyway. I know they break out and do some different things that I recall, much more that pub environment. Am I wrong? Is that kind of their thing? No, donuts are a feature, no doubt. Right. But yeah, the collective's not a coffee shop like you put together. So yeah, no.
Yes, more of a, it's like donuts and beer, and then they do all kinds of sandwiches and everything. And cool concept. They have like these cool Airstream trailers. One of them focuses predominantly on donuts. I don't know what the coffee game is there, but it's not a coffee shop. It's not
right.
It's not a place. I mean, it's a place where you go definitely engage with the community, but just in a different way at a different hour. I mean, you're not going to wake up at first thing in the morning, at least you shouldn't.
Sure. So this is great as I'm continually interrupting you. I apologize, but it's fun because I've got my list of questions. I'm going, you're you're hitting the nail on the head on the next thing I wanted to say, is, so just to kind of in a couple sentences, what is then, because I'm hearing you, right? There's different models and you're going, man, the one I've got in my heart, in my mind anyway, that I can picture it. Why is that missing? So this is it, drum roll. What is Bougie's Donuts and Coffee in terms of its mission, its purpose, the distinctive, right?
This took a while to develop. And, I've had multiple drafts and some of them were paragraphs long and you're trying to make it clear and concise. And so, what we landed on and really everything that we do, we view through this lens, but it's just 3 words. It's just donuts, coffee, community.
Great.
And so it's very simple, but it's very, in my mind, very powerful. And so when we think about like anything that we do with the business, it's like, does it involve donuts? Does it involve coffee? And then, beyond that, because those are the 2 first things in our mission statement, we need to put high priority on the quality of that product, the care we put into it, the presentation, all of that stuff. And then community that's our customer base, but really that's why we are in existence. And that community goes 2 ways. It's not just on the other side of the counter from us. It's on both sides of the counter, right? So my employee base, how do we create a community within our space that really makes our employees feel cared for, feel seen, which I feel like in today's culture with, social media and everything, people want to be seen. And how do we make them feel loved? And then on the other side of the counter, the same thing. How do we create a space that people come into and it almost feels like a second home or a second kitchen to them. And it's the place where they want to take their friends when they come into town because the donuts and coffee are good, but also because the memories they have there are amazing. And hopefully we're creating a spot that over, time, a decade away, 2 decades away, that their kids are now bringing their friends or their, peers back to, because there's a nostalgia there of this is what we did, or their kids even, right? When I was a kid, I came here with my mom and dad, and I just had great memories here.
See, this is fascinating to me, Ryan. Like, and a lot of the folks listening and watching, I hope agree with the real marvel of the thing happening here is here's a guy, musician from Houston, job to have a job, right? Pay the bills. Everybody listening can relate to that. There's a bunch of head nods happening. People, yeah. And they're thinking the thing they did to make ends meet. And even after the degree, right? You come out and go, oh, I guess this is kind of where I have to get things started. And you blink. And as you said it really well, like 11 years goes by and you just kind of take the moment when they're handing out sort of the layoffs, as it were, and say, all right, I've been waiting for an excuse anyway. And a lot of, including myself, a lot of folks don't know owners like you, behind a counter, apron on, covered in flour, doing your thing. We look and go, yeah, that guy's a donut guy, just cerebrally, right? We're looking at you going, it's what you do. It's what we think of the mailman. It's what we see with the, the salesperson we meet. It's anybody. And it's so cool to pause and go like, here's a guy that is not from this, right? You literally started from scratch. And then all this care as you're talking, I'm just going, are you hearing yourself? I mean, you've got so much love and passion. It's very poetic almost of like, yeah, when I was a kid and people making memories, I'm going, yeah, that really goes beyond donuts and coffee. And with respect to the chains, the bigger names, it's not even that they don't want that. I don't doubt that at McDonald's corporate meetings, I actually probably bet there's that guy, right? At Starbucks going, how do we do that in the community? But they literally have their hands tied. They're unable to have the same high touch that you're able to have. Yeah.
It's hard, I think. And this is something that I wrestle with too, because I mean, our vision and my hope is that one day we are multi-location.
Sure.
And I've got a big vision for where I want to go. I'd love to be global at some point. And
very cool. Okay.
I have, different charities and things that I want to support with our business. But, one of the things that I guess keeps me up at night is like, how do we maintain the culture that we have in this one little, we're in a strip mall. It's not like a super cool from the exterior. It's not a super cool shop. It's not what I wanted. I wanted this like a very unique, standalone building,
Oh yeah, with a garden and RV park,
exactly.
People hugging each other, right.
Tables, little stage out there. We could do live music venues, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But and that's a whole nother story of, getting to the space that we're in.
Okay,
But,
sure.
um, anyway, like I just lost my train of thought is what just happened.
That's perfect, because I've got a question for you that probably will help
Okay.
that train of thought. So you have this story now everybody's catching up with, going, man, okay, we get it. There's this rocker, this guy that's had to sell, does what he does, and now he's found himself in donuts. I think first of all, you actually literally had
Yeah, I was like clean shaven, like no hair, like yeah.
right.
It's back. It's okay, guys. For those that can't see, it's back.
It's back. It is legit back, by the way. It's about to go Willie Nelson on us, in fact. So, yeah. Two things, and I'm reminded in my trusty notes here. Ryan, why Bougies? What's with the name? We skipped over that like we skipped the cheers.
Yeah.
Bougies, we got people reading it, saying it the wrong way. You didn't pick the easiest name to say, brother, but you're confident, you love it. What is Bougies? What's the joke here? I want everyone to get this.
So I guess there's two versions to the story. One's just a more concise version. It's named after one of my dogs. So I have or had two boxers, and the very first dog that my wife and I got as a couple.
I'm gonna get misty. Don't do this to me. Come on, I'm a dog lover. Yep.
He was an amazing dog. I bought him while we were dating, and we used to joke before we got married that, should something happen, we broke up, whatever, that we would have joint custody on him. Had a lot of personality, and really so the breeder named him Rocky. And one night she and I were sitting at home watching movies. Apparently we watch a lot of movies, so watch movies.
Everything happens on the couch with Ryan and his wife. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just watching movies.
But I don't remember the name of the movie. It doesn't really matter. But one of the characters refers to another character as Bougie Boy, and was, kind of giving him a jab, saying he was just, so fancy. And he's like, "You're so bougie, you don't even know it."
Bougie. Okay.
Rocky, it was a flashy brindle boxer, which if you don't know, it's just, he's got a big white collar, has kind of like the tiger stripes down the back, and just beautiful dog. But he was very like posh, like in the way his mannerisms, and just he was bougie.
Dog people get this, because I get it. You have certain dogs, and it's hard to describe to non-dog people that you see dogs and you're like, man, you really got your chin in the air. You really think you're all that. And, you got dogs that got the attitude of the guy that's just happy to, like, that he made it out of prison or whatever. Like, so you clearly had that dog, right? He just was a high stepper and had a silk pillow,
Turned to him and we're like, Bougie Boy, that's your new name. So that became his nickname, and really like the name that we would refer to him mostly. And, so fast forward, and for those that don't know, Bougie, like, to go back in history, comes from the bourgeoisie, like, time period. And it was where this, very, like, if you've heard of like a proletariat, it's like in the bourgeoisie class, there are two social classes that were in conflict with each other. One of them was very uppity, kind of the elite, the ruling class, and the other was the working class. And so anyway, I'll tie that into the donuts here in a second.
The point is status, right? It's all about class and status. Bougie. Yeah, bougie. Okay.
And so when we were trying to come up with a name for the donut shop, I had a couple different like ideas, but one of the very first ideas was Bougie's Donuts. And I just thought, what a cooler way to pay homage to our first fur child, if you will, and kind of immortalize him in light above the donut shop.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then as we kind of started working through the name too, like, it worked because over time, and we kind of skipped some of this part of the story, but I had done some travel to like LA and to some other markets, and really tried to study, on the East Coast, trying to study donuts and the donut culture there, and trying to understand like what were we missing in Austin.
Right.
And what I found pretty quickly was it was the gourmet donut. It was, and not just like the donut that you poured cereal on.
I'll take a dozen glaze and it's $3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like, and so we wanted to be gourmet. And so the idea was like, this is a elevated donut, a very bougie donut. And so, where I didn't want our shop to have that vibe of being kind of stuck up or elitist with our coffee and our donuts, it's a tongue in cheek, kind of almost a poke at ourselves to say, look, yeah, we're gourmet donuts, we're craft coffee, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. And we're so much so that we're gonna even call ourselves like
Right.
Bougie's Donuts, right?
And for those of you listening too, thinking, that answer to my question, why bougies? And Ryan, I think you've been going on for 7 minutes on the answer. Just so you know, owners care about their names.
Right.
There's a story, there's a dog, there's tears, there's narrative, there's even road trips sometimes behind the simple
Once you
name.
choose it, you're stuck with it.
That's right.
You can't like shake it. So
I
like,
saw the best quote, Ryan. Dave Grohl goes, man, if we had known that this Foo Fighters thing was going to take off, we would have called it something else.
something cool. Like,
Yeah, I was crying. I go, that's that. It was so honest because he goes, Foo Fighters, but the stupidest name on the planet. But yeah, so Bougie has intentionality. That's an understatement. You've thought through the irony, right, in this status class snobbery thing, and you're going donuts and coffee. It's disarming in that sense. So that's neat. That's cool. And so I think you've really given us that picture of the care of the name, right? The love for community, the different research that you did that built into all the things that you were doing. So as you built out the brand and the store and the business, and you're going through, now you're getting kind of lumped going, all right, got to find property, need to hire people. I have to pay taxes. I have to get flour and sugar. And I'm here before everyone and staying after everyone. This is the part that fascinates me. A lot of young entrepreneurs, aspiring guys twice our age, looking to pivot, are interested in what you're about to say. What was surprisingly, if at all, by the way, what was expectedly maybe, either or, hard, and what was, you went, wow, that actually, like, that is in my DNA. I kind of breezed through this thing, and here's something that, man, I did not get the memo. I had no idea this was coming. Give us kind of that, I guess, pros and cons, the difficult and easy things that you faced in the actual physical, execution of this Bougie's Donuts.
Yeah, I think it's a misnomer to think that there's like a one like specific thing, right? One hurdle that you're gonna have to jump over
Right.
in order to make it happen.
Right.
And what I found when I was getting this started, I mean, fortunately, we live in the age of information. You can Google pretty much anything.
Oh man.
When I was trying to come up with like a business plan, I literally just typed in, donut shop business plan, and up comes a template. And so then
Did you hear that, everybody? We are doing that in business. We're Googling things, because to Google it is okay. Because there's rocket scientists on Google, like, giving away free, recipes and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, I think, initially, like, I had never started my own business, much less my own brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
And, Austin can be a challenging city at times to get, permitting, and just to figure out, who do I need to talk to? What do I need to do? What is code, and how do I bring a business to code?
Sure.
And what's a certificate of occupancy? And how many bathrooms do I need in my business? And how many screws do I need in each stud that's, screwed? And it's all simple stuff you can typically find online, or you can find somebody. But it does take a lot of perseverance.
Sure.
It takes a lot of determination. And so, those were some of the challenges in the beginning. I think the other thing is, I thought the people aspect of it, I was going to breeze through, the hiring people. And then I had kind of this idea that we would be like a family, and I would hire these people and they would stick around for at least a few years. And, we would just sing Kumbaya after every shift, and cheers and whatever.
Sure.
It was going to be amazing. And what you find is that, people have their own aspirations, they have their own, desires and things that they're looking to do. And you may be just a pass through. You may be a stepping stone to whatever they're going to.
Did that sting a little at first?
Oh, dude, it's still every time. Like, it's hard.
Hey, boss, can I talk to you for a minute? And you're going, I know where this is going.
Right.
Can we talk after my shift? Okay.
I think the difference is that, as I've done, so we just celebrated 4 years last week.
Okay.
So still very new. I feel like still kind of a baby, but the longer I've done this, the easier it is to predict, to see the signs, like the writing on the wall, when somebody's losing interest, when they're, kind of fizzling out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it in their like productivity. The ones that sting the most right now are the ones that have only worked for me for 2 weeks, and they're already hitting the wall and
oh man,
want to eject. And it's like, man, we've barely got you through training. Like, we've invested time and money and, effort into you. We've had you as an extra body, and, you're piecing out on us. So
Right.
anyway, so that's been the hardest thing. Maybe the easiest thing, which I thought was going to be the hardest thing, was the actual um, creation of the donuts and the ideas.
That's good news. I'm glad that
And
part was, yeah.
which is funny because, when I decided to open up the donut shop, I had no experience in donuts, like zero, zilch. I think it was like month 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it took us about 18 months to open up from the inception of the idea to the actual first, customer walking through the doors.
Yeah.
And at some point I was like, I guess we're headed down this path. Like, we're pretty far down. I should really learn how to make a donut. And again, with the power of Google and YouTube, looked up a recipe and made my first batch of donuts in my home kitchen using like my oven as a makeshift proofer and like a little home personal fryer. And
I'm loving
took
this.
all the donuts I made. It was just standard yeast trays, glazed donuts. Took them out to a bunch of kids. They were like, "Oh, these are awesome." I'm like, "Sweet." Like, I feel like I can check that off. And then, fast forward to, it's like a week before we opened up the shop. I had a consultant come out because working in a home kitchen and working in a commercial kitchen, completely different animals. The equipment is different size.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Batches, everything is a little bit more intimidating. Instead of your like little half pound or 1 pound like flour bag, I have a 50-pound bag of flour that I'm pulling from. So anyway, they gave me 3 days of training the week before we opened up. And so that's when I really officially learned how to like do everything.
Right.
And then after that, they were like, "All right, sink or swim. See you later." But I feel like that's stuff. And there's an art form. So I don't want to discredit those like pastry chefs that are just like phenomenal at what they do. But just getting into it, the entry part of it, like that was easier maybe than what I thought. And then again, hard because there was no sleep because I'm a night owl and for whatever reason, like picked a business where you're supposed to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And, work until then. If you're actually making the donuts and then have to manage the business, you're not getting home until 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
That's a great response, man. And, it's funny because as I'm looking at now who you are today and thinking a little bit in my own life, and no doubt, again, people listening and watching are piecing together who they are. As we're at the ripe age of 24 and 25, right? We're getting on. I'm kidding. But yeah, as middle-aged guys of who we are, we definitely, so there's 2 things I'm noticing. Consistency with the folks I interview and meet, entrepreneurs as you're looked at, whether you view yourself as that or not. It's not so much that we're good at things. And we might be.
You didn't say successful entrepreneurs. There's a difference
right.
here.
Entrepreneurs, because as you're talking, you're like, I better learn how to make a donut. I'm laughing going, that's consistent with just about every other Tom, Dick, or Harry I've talked to, because there's a confidence and a gut instinct going, I know I can figure that part out. It's not unfounded all the time. It's because you've done that before and you've told yourself, I don't need to learn the charts for this gig. If I show up, I'll figure it out. And in sales, I don't really remember the KPIs and the points and the thing for this thing, and you've proven to yourself that there's whatever you want to call it, right? There's 25% BS. There's some facts that you can bring. You have to be a little bit of a wordsmith. And anyway, yeah, you definitely have the making. So I'm watching you kind of progress the story, and the great answers to what was hard and what was easy. I definitely can see that there's probably 15 of each other ones, right? But kind of focusing on that bit for a minute. Now, I guess the next piece of this would really be, again, facing, the audience would be to the guy or gal or team or whoever listening that really specifically to your niche, right, to donuts and to brick and mortar in a community, because this is such a neat model you're talking about. Last week we interviewed a guy that left, the seminary path to go into preaching, to go into the business of religion, as it were, just pivoted and said, now I'm going to open an indie theater. And he's got this very hyper-local, south of Minneapolis, Twin Cities, and Rochester, this wonderful theater model. So a lot of this is popping up. There's the big model, there's the mid, but I'm Ryan. I'm going to get this thing, get it right. And sure, here's to going global one day.
Right.
But you're really cracking that thing of like Austin and Austin's people. So drum roll to the question is this, like, what would you recommend? Like, what would you have done differently what would you to advise kind of to another aspiring entrepreneur in your shoes? They're right behind you, they're right ahead of you in life, but the point is they're ready to take a risk, and you kind of you have the playbook now, right? You're all bruised and beat, and you're like, look, here's the things, and that's another hour, I know. So what would you say would be in some kind of little paragraph the things that you would get them ready for? Give them the haikus, so to speak. Be patient, be kind. Those kind of things are helpful for people, right? They need to know that stuff.
There's a lot to unpack. There are a lot of things that I could, advise on, but I think some of the big ones are have a plan. Like, we were just mentioned a business plan. Like, I can't tell you how many young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs that I talk to, and they're like, I want to own my own coffee shop one day, or I want to own, do this or do that.
And don't fail.
And you ask them, and I was the same, right? I've had other businesses, and it was always like we would start the business, and then we'd start to try to write the plan of the business after we had already started it, but the plan was going to match what we had been doing. It doesn't work like that. Like,
okay,
you need to actually sit down, put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, however you prefer, and really think through, like, this is a business. And yes, like, there are a lot of things like culturally and socially that I want to do with my business, but ultimately the point of the business is to create an income,
be profitable.
Unless it's a not-for-profit, right? But like, you got to figure out what those you mentioned KPIs, key performance indicators, are for the business, and what constitutes success for the business, and then how do I get from where I am now to that point of success? And that could be anything from, for me, I have a donut and coffee shop, so I need to sell donuts. Well, reverse engineer your costs, from all the utilities, the overhead, their cost of rent, the cost of labor, sure, that. Work your way down and just make educated guesses. It didn't have to be exact, because you're not going to know everything, but put a plan in place and say, okay, well, I need to sell X amount of donuts a day. So is that reasonable?
Yeah.
And then go from there. But I think the business plan is the biggest thing.
Get a plan. Yeah, the plan's huge.
It's just overlooked.
One I'll throw at you. It'd be great to get your comment on this. So as I was starting my own, you were starting yours, and we were very busy, and 6 months at a time would go by. And I remember shooting your text in particular and saw your Instagram, and there's plywood and paint everywhere and permits. And I go, dude, you all right? How's it going? And you said, such and such is delayed. Some inspection. I forget exactly what.
Yeah. It
should have been 4 weeks, and I said, so basically what you're saying is, if they say 4, double it. And I remember your reply, you said, try triple.
Yeah.
You were like, if I'm told it's going to be 4 weeks, Ryan started learning, that means 12. So I feel like, not putting words in your mouth, but wouldn't you agree that in general, because I've experienced that, most folks listening know this, what's on the plan. So you just said, have a plan. And I feel like kind of a bullet is, and by the way, make a plan, but just relax a little bit and have practically the funding and have the patience to know,
right,
it's going to take 9 months, not 5, that kind of thing.
I think that have a plan and have a buffer. Maybe that's the two.
There you go. Have a buffer. Yeah, that's a big term, right? Yeah.
But, buffer on time, buffer on finances. And, you can still stick to your plan, but yet be flexible on the plan. And there may be things, situations, you find that your business kind of takes a life of its own at some point.
Sure.
And you can put all the things on paper and you can have all the ideas, but as it starts to take off, it's like another life, and it has its own personality, like things that you didn't even anticipate. And so, learning how to kind of harness that, and, it's like, baby horse or whatever, when you break a horse, it's like this buck and bronco thing.
Yeah. And you have to tame it.
You know what the parents look like. And so you could kind of anticipate what the colt was going to look like, but you don't know the personality of the horse or any of that stuff. And so that's, I feel like, a decent analogy for like a business. Once it starts going, then it's your job just to manage that thing and make it the best horse in that, thoroughbred, if you will, that you can make it.
Well, I mean, in the analogy of, life being a ride, things being a ride, like the ride on the horse, I like, because it's crazy. And then later you're like, hey, it knows your voice, and it's stroking the mane and it's calm, but that's like year 10, you know?
But it can still kick you in the teeth.
Where's the horse? Where's the Bougie's horse today, Ryan? Do you have it finally kind of like, not kicking you in the face, basically?
It depends on the day. I was telling you earlier, yesterday, so we had this big like winter apocalypse, snowmageddon, whatever you want to call it in Texas.
I don't know when you guys are listening to this to the audience, but in the third week, help me out, Ryan, second week of February, Ryan and a scattering of friends and professional contacts in Central Texas. And I'll add, this did not forsake Louisiana and some other areas, got some interesting weather, understatement. Texas gets like ice classically,
inches of snow.
This wasn't ice. This was.
You can go on YouTube of people like snowboarding down Martin Creek Trail, like ridiculous. It's not. I'm in 41 years. I've never experienced it.
Yeah, no, we're showing images right now of the city and of the area and of random stuff we found on the interwebs of this anomaly of literally it turning into an apocalypse. And like you said, it's 70 something today, and people are grilling. So Texas, man.
Yeah, but because of that, like yesterday, when people ask me what I do, it's funny because I really feel like the more honest answer is like I'm the janitor, I'm the courier,
yeah, sure,
I'm the maintenance guy, like all the things. And really, that's a lot of my job is just keeping the thing running, right? So like yesterday, we couldn't get deliveries. One of our vendors is out in Dallas, Garland actually, and so I had to get up and make the round trip to Dallas and back. And while I'm on the road, I get a text, "Hey, one of the outlets is having issues with the shop." And this is something too. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to decide like how involved do you want to be in your business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can ever truly be a business owner and not know your business and not be able to you can't just be completely dismissive of it. But some owners are really like in the nitty gritty all the time. I like being hands on, and I don't like paying repair guys. So
that makes you a particular brand of owner. But I know you. I've seen how you work, and anybody that doesn't know you, wouldn't matter anyway, can see you're having success working like that. So it can be done, and you're also able to come up to 10,000 feet and think about branding and marketing and all that stuff. So that's
I kind of bounce back and forth. I think my goal is to get to a point where I'm working on my business, not in my business. When we first started the business, I was the guy that was getting up every morning at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I'd be at the shop by 3 a.m. I'd work until we closed the kitchen down at like 10 o'clock, and then I would take off my baker hat and put my manager hat on, and I'd take care of HR, payroll, all the other pieces of the business, marketing, branding, and
not to mention husband and daddy, and
Well, then ultimately my wife and daughter kind of got the shaft on that because they would get me for 30 minutes to an hour a day, and I'd do that 6 days a week. And on the seventh day, I would be so like exhausted.
On the seventh day, he crashed.
Yeah, I would just be like out the entire day.
Right.
That first year, I felt like I was drunk off of just exhaustion and adrenaline and all of the things that were pushing me through to make it happen. But yeah, so there will be owners that just it's an investment they're making into a business and they have ideas. I'm trying to get to a point where I'm hovering over the business. I feel like I have the best grasp on controlling it and having vision for it and being creative with it by not being the guy that's there day in and day out. I'm still there a lot. I'm still there usually 5-6 days a week.
Sure.
I just may not be there at 2 a.m. anymore.
And that's sort of that nostalgic picture, right? Of the owner. What's the show? Undercover Boss. So the guy that, and in general, we all, the entrepreneurs, myself, you, and really everybody listening, is the ultimate picture is where you don't have to work on it or in it. I'm sorry. In it. You don't need to, but you're not too cool to put an apron on. In fact, you're not only going to wear an apron, you're looking at the trash outside into the parking lot near your front door, and you're seeing the employee kind of, their back's a little sore. They're just a little down, and you're running all over patching it. But at the same time, you can't have your elbows metaphorically, elbow deep in donut batter where you can't talk to other coffee suppliers and talk about catering and marketing and all the other moving parts, man. I'd like to make this a 3 hour episode. By the way, I really truly would, because it would be fun. So here's some rapid fire. What's the weirdest donut that you've like thought up and you got it out there and people bought it and ate it? So think for a second.
They come straight to mind. Like there's two really
Cool.
We saw somebody had done like, I think, a pizza donut. And so we were like, man, if they can do it, we can do it better. And so
wait, what's in this bag? Hang on a second. Pizza, like sauce, pepperoni, cheese.
So we did I'm trying to remember what the base donut was. I think it was like a rosemary cake donut.
Oh yeah, regular base for a donut, right?
Right. And then we did a tomato glaze on it. We do a big piece of pepperoni and some mozzarella cheese, and then torched it at the top and served them out. It was surprisingly like a really good donut, but everybody would see it in the case and they just kind of be like, not what I
How
was
it looked and tasted were two different things. That's kind of what you're saying. All right. So the pizza donut wins. All right, cool.
We did another one that was maple. What was on it? Maple. There was cilantro. There was sriracha.
Goodness.
And something else. But that one too was like one of those ones where, people kind of come in. They're like, it's like 8:00 in the morning. I don't know if I'm down for the sriracha.
Sure.
But it was really, really good. And so we've done those two, and then I feel like we've gotten really creative. You didn't ask this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Some of the best donuts I think that we've come up with so far are like the lemon lavender, and really that was one of our early pastry chefs.
Yeah,
so to kind of tie into like the whole entrepreneur thing, I've hired good talent that has really helped to elevate what we're doing and take kind of what I've built.
Can we both just pause for a second and agree that that's everything?
Yeah.
Like you lead and you have to keep leading. But man, when you bring other people's ideas in and you set them free, I feel like that's something everyone needs to hear and absorb. And I've watched you do that, Ryan. Hey man, I noticed this, that, and that thing. And you'd respond and go, yeah, that right there's not me. And I'm going, oh, wow, it's happening for you. You're getting the the secret sauce of the band, right? You started the Beatles. Now you've got the guy, you're still John. I guess you're Paul. Maybe you're Ringo. I don't know. But you're no, I got it. You're definitely George. Yeah, you're unsung, but you're really the magic. Yeah, hey, there's a little opinion for you. But yeah, but you definitely are bringing opinion and you're bringing creativity into that. So yeah, the lemon lavender, like you're saying, that was somebody else's. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that was totally somebody else's. We took some other ideas from, we're always borrowing from the dessert aisle and like different pastry cases.
Of course.
And so instead of, like I said, pouring cereal, like we were actually trying to infuse cakes and, icings and glazes. And, we've got like lemon zest on top of things and rose petals and all kinds of stuff. So, but, it's been a really cool process. We've had just amazing people that have helped push it there too.
Man, and what a great way to, as we start to kind of close here. So thank you, by the way, for working with me and not, referencing the dreaded Rona, something that I know you've had to deal with, and all brick and mortars out there listening and watching the sudden closing of your shop and the distance and things like you can have 35% of people in and you're doing the numbers going, well, that means my staff and I'm like incredibly frustrating, business crippling things happening and attrition would be a whole other episode, right? Ryan surviving the coronavirus. So now we're here. Things are in different definitions, I'm sure, different interpretations, opening back up. Can we both agree? They're not going the other way, maybe?
They're at least like stable, somewhat stable.
Sure. So the question, I guess, is with that kind of starting to get behind us, because I'm trying to lead some optimism here, is what's next for Bougie's? What is in the forefront of your mind right now?
Yeah. So one thing that I didn't mention, not to go back too far, but our business is built on multiple platforms. We have the brick and mortar. We do wholesale. We've got a catering arm of the business. Last year during the Rona Cooties, as I refer to it, we launched a kind of mobile vending service where we started sending what were our wholesale delivery vans to communities to take donuts to them, create a virtual drive-through so it was touchless. They didn't have to go out and get out and potentially expose themselves. And we didn't know anything about this thing. And so I think for 2021, one of the big things is right before Corona, I bought a blank canvas, a food truck. It's a 1958 Grumman Olson bread truck. And the goal is to take that thing and turn it into a mobile espresso bar, load it up with donuts, be able to take it out to catering events and to weddings and parties and, music venues, you name it. So that's a big thing on the horizon, I think, for this year. We had hoped last year to look at second location. So last year was, not to belabor that.
Sure.
But it was rough. And so it's going to take us a minute to kind of catch our breath and recover from what happened last year. I feel like things have stabilized, but our hope is to open up a second location at some point in the near future. And then really is continuing to work on standardizing everything that we do, standardizing our quality control, standardizing all of our processes. If you guys, are looking for a book to read before you start a business, there's a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Wonderful book.
That book is amazing, and they have it segmented in different industries too, depending on what you're trying to do. But it's all about the process. So trying to build repeatable processes. So really, try to continue to dial that in and create that blueprint so that when we're ready for location number 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, we're just basically taking the blueprint, the plan, we talked about at the very beginning, and just dropping it on the next location and just follow the plan, follow the plan, wash, rinse, repeat.
Well, the business, again, is Bougie's Donuts and Coffee. They're in Austin, Texas. Sports teams, churches, businesses, bar mitzvahs, retirement parties. Look up Ryan Brown on bougiesdonuts.com. They're doing a lot of things. Look for them on wheels apparently soon. And stop by because it sounds like they are. Am I getting that right, Ryan? Now in February of 2021, you are technically open.
We're open. Yeah.
You are open. All right. So as of now, you're open.
We were closed because the winter apocalypse.
That's right. Winter apocalypse. Yeah.
And so, barring flooding,
volcanoes, zombies. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Earthquakes in Texas. I don't know.
Planes falling out of the sky. Dude, it's so good to see you. It's a pleasure. Your hair is ridiculous. It's awesome.
I'm just trying to catch up to the beauty that we call Drew.
Yeah, we'll see about the haircut. Maybe I'll just shave it off on one of these episodes or something to change it up. So, because I've had it this whole time and yours is here, I feel like, all right, if you got it, maybe I can cut it. So, but thanks for being with me, man. I appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to see you. So take care, everybody. Thanks again for joining us.
Peace.